three sun signs out there. The sign of Leo and the sign of Sagittarius. The deck that I'm using this week is called the Star Spinner Tarot. It has one of those magnetic closures on the flap. Hi, Kayla's lovely. Thank you for coming. I am having a great day. I hope you're having a great day as well. The crystal that I'm going to be using for the crystal scrying this week is this lovely chunk of unakite, and that is going to be heading over on the members side of the channel. This stone is recommended for scrying by Pam Georgel, the Lucky Mermaid, so I thought I'd give it a try. So I'm going to light this candle. And if you would, just gaze into the flame. This is a lavender and vanilla scented candle that I received as a Christmas present a few years ago. And I haven't burned it very much yet. So just let anything that you would like to let go of flow gently into the flame. Just relax. Relax. If you like, you can imagine that you are blowing out the candle, and that every time you blow on it, you are releasing stress. You are releasing things that no longer serve you. They will be returned to source and transmuted. Okay. over here on the bookshelf, and I promise not to burn down my apartment. So we're going to get started with Aries. And I wanted to mention that I'm doing, I like all kinds of candles. I had a Palo Santo one that I liked a lot. I like bayberry candles a lot too. So this week I'm pulling 5 cards, and I'm talking about them much more in depth. And then part of the reading is that we end with a guided meditation. And the guided meditation is to help transmute the energies that come out in the reading. So I did this with the water signs yesterday, and it seemed to be a pretty good way of doing the readings. So let me know what you think down in the comments if you're watching later, or you can let me know in the chat how you like it. Okay. Oh, interesting. All right. Aries, I'm going to write down your timestamp. Okay. Let's get started. So, the first card that we have coming out today is the Knight of Wands. And this card, you see the Knight here, encircled in the divine white light of Source, this kind of bubble, riding on a bird. And we see all of these other arcs of energy surrounding this knight. So all of the knights in the tarot are fire energy, and the Knight of Wands is fire of fire energy. So Aries, this could have been a huge burst for you in the recent past. And this is something that you've been able to sustain into the current situation, that you seem to be able to keep this level of energy going because this card is upright. Now, look at all of the ways that the energy is arcing. It's like one of those gyroscopic contraptions that you can get into at the fair and get properly motion sick, right? You could have a lot going on, and that's why you are tapping into all of this energy. You could just be ready to begin new projects. The Knight is not a super mature energy, still very young type of an energy. So I want you to think, Aries, back to a time in the past when you had this burst of energy come through? And what sparked it? What was it that was the catalyst for this? I know a lot of you do listen to these readings to try to go to sleep. So if that is the case for you, Aries, you don't need to embody that energy at this time. But for those of you who are going to go on with the rest of your day after this, you can use this to kind of bolster your energy at this time. Remember what it felt like. Remember smells, tastes, often the tactile aspects of our lives. Help us to cement these emotions and sensations in our brain. A bit like the Pavlovian response, right? But you can use it for all kinds of things. Whenever you feel happy, you could do something specific, a specific hand motion or a specific eye movement that helps cement and reinforce that emotion. And I invite you to do that with this Knight of Wands anytime you need a boost of energy. Hi, Jason. Thank you for coming. It's so good to see you. The next card that we have in your reading, Aries, is the Two of Pentacles. And the Two of Pentacles can be about balance. It can be about commerce. It can be about business relationships and partnerships. So we have the two boats. Now, they're both headed in the same direction, but you could also think of them as coming and going. One boat coming in, the other boat leaving in a cyclical fashion. We see that this person is juggling these two coins here. So the Two of Pentacles is the money in being balanced with the money out, but not necessarily with a surplus the way that one might see with the Six of Pentacles. However, it does speak to that balance. So having a nice balance of these things. And again, we see this motif where the person's head is encircled in this ring of light, the divine light of Source. So where we're looking at this Knight of Wands and the Two of Pentacles together, you may have experienced this great burst of energy, but within the framework of balance. So the reason that you've been able to sustain this energy level, Aries, into the current situation is this balance. This could be delegating tasks to others when necessary. It's definitely about knowing the self and knowing one's own limitations and restrictions. We have, in the current situation, the Six of Swords. Now, the Six of Swords, we do have this ring overhead. But inside the ring, instead of the sun, we have the moon. The moon is the reflected light of the sun. It illuminates much less clearly, and It illuminates in cycles. Here we have these figures, mostly bundled up. We have this younger child here who is not as bundled up. And this figure back here actually has a skull for a face. So this could be traveling through the underworld. For what purpose? We're uncertain. We do see in the water these swords, and they're headed straight for this wall of swords here. Now the swords have the potential to damage the vessel, right? The Six of Swords is mostly an air sign card, but still has implications of the water in it, implications of one's emotions that you are using to carry you through life. The Six of Swords can be travel, it can be a pilgrimage, it can be relocation. It is not so much about the leaving of a place, but the arrival at a new and unknown or unfamiliar destination. So Aries, in the current situation, you may be moving, you may be traveling, you may be changing things quite a bit in your life. There's a lot of movement in this card, a lot of momentum. And this would be more like long distance travel or continuous short distance travel. We know that you're able to balance, maintain your energy levels, and maintain buoyancy upon the water. Because remember, we have these little boats depicted here on the Two of Pentacles card. Travel by air, travel by sea. Travel even on the tip of an arrow, Aries. So in the immediate future, the card that I have for you, this is a very positive card to have, Aries. It is the Star card. So again, we have this motif of the rings showing the divine source imbuing the mortal vessel with life. In this case, too, the star radiates their own essence back out into the universe. A few of the cards in this deck are like this. This person is watering all of these beautiful flowers. You might even see these flowers as one's social groups, as one's circles of influence. The water being poured out here, being emotional energy poured into these social groups. We have an ibis overhead. It can be representative of the god of writing and intelligent thought, Thoth. The star is Aquarius's card in the tarot deck. For those of you who have Aries rising, that would put Aquarius in your 11th house. So the outcome of this move might be more social engagement, and it might be related to your hopes and dreams being fulfilled. This alchemical process of pouring out the emotional energy into one's social groups and watching the garden grow. And we know that this is being poured out at a steady rate. There might even be creativity involved in this venture. Now, the final card. Those of you who watch my readings regularly know that I don't like seeing this card in the reverse in a future position because it's just not very descriptive, right? We have the Two of Wands in the reverse. Now, this could be far enough into the future that you wouldn't be able to plan. This might be letting you know that a lot of the good things that will be coming into your life will be not only by your own machinations, but also by the planning processes of others. So see what we have down here at the bottom of the star card. We have all these beautiful flowers. They look like they might be daylilies or something like that. And here on the Two of Wands, we have that same kind of flower depicted. And many, many more of that flower have grown. It could even be that here on the star card, the figure is watering these plants while waiting for their wings to grow. While on the Two of Wands, this person has gone through their magical girl transformation, like you might see in the Sailor Moon cartoons, and is now leaving even this situation behind because all of the work that the person has put in here has paid off to the extent that they can move on to new endeavors. The wands are a suit of creativity. We also see these energies coming full circle for you, Aries. That the first card we had in your reading was the Knight of Wands. And here we've come back around full circle to this Two of Wands. And here it is in the reverse. There are a lot of unknowns in your reading this week, Aries. Not just here in the Two of Wands, but here in the current situation where there is uncertainty of how this move or this trip will turn out. It might even be a situation that is slightly dangerous in the current. But you have a lot of practice bringing things into balance. And I think that you'll be sharing that gift with others into the future. So Aries, now we are going to do a little bit of guided meditation to help transmute the current energies. So what I'd like for you to do, oh, I'm glad to hear that, Jason. And thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing that with us. going to pretend that this candle is the lighthouse on the shore and that you are headed towards it. This beacon represents the star card, illuminating your future success. So we're going to start out with the candle kind of far back here, so you can almost not even see the light. This is going to represent all the uncertainties that you have in the current situation. You could envision each one of those uncertainties, in fact, like the swords in the water. So we're coming up on the first sword, and very gently, you're just going to drift gently to one side of that sword. It could be the left side, it could be the right side. It's up to you. Does the boat scrape against the sword at all? Or does it pass by quite easily? And now we're coming up on the second sword. And again, you're just going to gently veer around that sword. Do you clear it with ease? Or does it kind of gently bump up against the side of the boat as you pass? And now we're coming up on the third sword. You're kind of facing the third sword head on. But again, your expert steering will gently guide you right around the obstacle. Now the fourth sword. This one is very low in the water and it's a little bit difficult to see, but that also makes it much more easy to avoid. So again, your boat just gently floats off to one side of the sword and you pass it. And now the fifth sword, which comes right up here, right between you and the lighthouse. This one's a little bit bigger and a little bit more difficult to avoid. But again, you circumvent it very gently and with ease. And finally, we come up to the sixth sword, which is actually anchored fairly firmly, I might add, into the sand on the shore, where you are able to tie off your boat and climb out, having reached your destination. Aries, that is going to conclude your reading for this week. So, after I finish this live stream, I will be going over to the members side of the channel to do some crystal scrying. Using this beautiful piece of unakite. If that interests you, you are cordially invited. But your presence on this channel is appreciated in whatever form it takes. Oh, thank you, Jason. Yes, I bought this at a place called Crystal Blue in Atlanta, Georgia. It's down in Little 5 Points. A local artist there makes them. And I want to mention that sometimes the weekly videos are not visible on the members only playlist, or are not visible because they're unlisted. But if you are a member and you go on the playlist, they should show up there. So next we are going to do the sign of Leo. And Leo, if you would, just allow any questions that you would like to have answered to rise up to the forefront of your thoughts. If these are things that are somewhat stressful for you, Leo, I invite you to gently breathe through that energy. Take some deep breaths and use that exhale to just carry any tension or stress out of your body back to source, where it can be transmuted. Let me write down your timestamp here. So Leo, the first card that I have for your reading the cards that you have in your past are both reversed, which lets me know that these are situations which have probably already left your sphere of influence, but of course will still affect current situations and energies. The first of which is the High Priestess. Oh, hi Lenore, thank you for coming. Yes, just in time for the Leo reading. So, the High Priestess, we can see that ring around their head, showing us the divine spark of creation that fills us all. Up here in the sky, we see this other circle of influence, of source, showing that connection between the High Priestess and source, being able to commune with the divine. We do have the moon over here, showing that balance and the cyclical nature of our gifts. The High Priestess does have wings on this card and is depicted as being between the two pillars, of course. The middle path, the path of moderation. The High Priestess could be seen as an emissary of the higher power, much like the angels are. This card can be about secrets. It can be about hidden knowledge. And it can be about developing one's psychic attunement and gifts. It can also be about lunar magic or goddess magic. But the High Priestess does not necessarily have to be a woman. You can be any gender and embody this energy. Because this card is in the reverse, in the past, it could also mean that some secrets have come out about different things. And of course, sometimes that can drive action in the current situation. The second card that we have, so this would also be past actions. We have the Hanged Man. And again, we have implications of communion with the divine. We have the divine spark within the Hanged Man here. And then we have this outer ring, implying that part of his being put in this position is to attain godliness. It is a purification ritual of self-sacrifice. We have apples depicted up here in the tree, which is a motif in this deck. None of the other cards in this reading have apples, though. This fruit, feasibly speaking, we're not sure how far this drop is, but the fruit could be within this person's reach if they have the strength to reach up and grab it. It is also possible that they could perhaps free their foot from this entanglement and drop to the ground. Perhaps reaching for these apples is how the person became trapped in this position in the first place. Other implications of the Hanged Man are of being in a state of stasis. Such that this time may have now passed for you, Leo. And it may be time to move into something new. Being restricted no longer by information just beyond your grasp, or now that secrets have been revealed, perhaps you will be able to take action on something. Here in the current situation, you are being encouraged to hold steady with your resources. We see here someone quite like Rapunzel allowing their hair to dangle out of the window of this turret, possibly to allow some help to come in. If this person could find a good anchor in this turret, perhaps they themselves could climb down a rope made of hair. The implication in this deck is similar to the Four of Cups, in that we have divine aid coming in the form of material resources or wealth, and we have holding steady here, 3 pentacles. There's a rule of 3s in a lot of small business practices, that you want to have enough money to produce your product. You want to have enough money to produce its replacement. And then you want to have that same amount of money coming in as profit. So really, the value of the item, you should be charging at least 3 times as much as it costs to produce in order to be able to be profitable. And we see this in the tarot not just with the Three of Pentacles, but also implied in the Six of Pentacles, the Nine of Pentacles, and specifically here, where we have these three pentacles. The Four of Coins can be about investments. It can be about your 401k. It can be about having health insurance for the first time in a long time. It can be about saving your energy, saving your money, and not expending too much at this time. So you do want to be taking action on some things. We see that with the Hanged Man reversed in the past. But you don't want to be necessarily investing in anything that you are not already invested in. Because this new opportunity is right around the corner for you, Leo. Let's start looking at these cards in the future. So in the immediate future, we have the Six of Wands. This is a card of victory and of mobility. This card is very similar in some ways to the energy of the Chariot card. But this is a much more relaxed atmosphere, that one might be able to rest on one's laurels. So, even so, we see a further conservation of one's energies, Leo. And of course, 4 in Roman numerals, reversed being 6. There's a jump there, the 5. And the 5s in the tarot deck are very much about expending energy. So the fact that this card is absent here, this is all about conserving energy, getting proper rest, taking care of the self. We are leaving this solitary energy of the High Priestess behind. This solitary energy of the Hanged Man. Perhaps all of the answers that you will be able to receive from Source also. You've already gotten all of those downloads. All of this manifestation too. So remember, I've been talking about these rings on the cards, right? So here we have these manifestations that are kind of far out behind the figures. And here, that manifestation is being made concrete and being brought down into the physical plane. And here, with the Six of Wands, now that concretion has fully materialized. We see this beautiful garden of flowers. You could think of this garden of flowers as your social groups, the people with whom you are connected. Many beautiful faces to behold in this crowd. And you standing here in the middle, Leo, with all of these wands. The blessings that you have asked for and worked so hard to receive, now pouring in from the divine. And now, this is a little bit further off into the future. So this card being in the reverse, it could be that you can't see this yet. The Four of Wands is a celebration. And here finally we have a card also with two people together, enjoying each other's company, holding on to this beautiful flower of friendship with these four wands in the background and the divine source as well. Four of Wands can be purchasing either a home or some other kind of property. It can be graduation. It can even be a card of marriage. And because this card is in the reverse and in the future, I think, Leo, that these are things which are coming in for you as part of this victory that you're not yet able to perceive. But they are there and they will be coming in. So for you, Leo, I think that your guided meditation, we are going to be increasing our awareness of this coming in. So the coin being encapsulated in that glow as it materializes, as it comes down from source. And when I say source, that's whatever you consider divinity to be, whatever your higher power is, or even just the nature of the universe itself for those secular humanists out there. So I want you to imagine the flame of the candle being very much like the divine white light of source. The element of fire is our way of tapping into that in its purest form. And I want you to imagine if you've ever seen a shooting star or a comet or a meteor shower. One of the most powerful crystals for attracting money is moldavite, which is an impactite created by a meteor striking the earth. It is green, the color of money. Well, I guess money is green in America. I realize that money is not necessarily green all over the world. But you could think about the path that a comet takes as it strikes the earth. The way that in legend, a rainbow can lead you to a pot of gold or a buried treasure. So what does that look like to you? The path to your material wealth as it descends from the heavens in the glowing energy of source. Things do tend to burn quite hot as they enter the Earth's atmosphere. There is a level on Mario Kart that I've talked about before called Rainbow Road, and it's very twisty and complicated, and you can fall off quite easily to your demise. Is that the path that your wealth is going to take from the divine down into your bank account? Or is it much simpler? Really, what I see is it entering the atmosphere like a rocket, plummeting directly to you, Leo. But rather than being crushed by the force, you will be transformed by it. And I'm going to count backwards from 6. And when I get to 1, that is when that solidification will take place. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. I do see that victory is imminent for you, Leo. So that is going to conclude the Leo reading for this week. And now I'm going to move on to the sign of Sagittarius. I do want to mention that when I have finished the readings over here, I will be going over to the members side of the channel to do some crystal scrying with this beautiful piece of unigite, which Pam Georgel, the lucky mermaid, has recommended for scrying. So I wanted to give it a try. If that interests you, you are cordially invited. But of course, your presence here on the channel is greatly appreciated, no matter what form it takes. So now, we are going to move on to the sign of Sagittarius. And Sagittarius, if you would, just allow any questions or issues, anything you'd like to address in the reading, to float gently up to the forefront of your thoughts. And wait there patiently while I shuffle the cards. And if any of those things are causing you stress, you can try, if you'd like, to blow out the candle right here over my shoulder. And as you exhale, just blow all of those things completely out of your body. And if you'd like to let me know what you think of the reading formats this week, please don't hesitate to leave a comment, or to, if you're here live, you can say how you feel about it in the chat as well. Okay. Interesting. So Sagittarius, we do have a lot of reversals for you this week. We have 2 cups, 2 swords, and also 1 wand. When we have minor arcana like this, and a lot of the cards are reversed, sometimes we are dealing with mundane situations, which can be a little bit complicated. The first card that we have in your reading, Sagittarius, is our upright. Which is the Six of Chalices. The Six of Chalices can be about things returning from the past. Here we have a mermaid with many goldfish, 6 goldfish, floating around in their hair. This mermaid could be royalty. We have that they have a crown on their head. And they are interacting with this person here. Now, this person is wearing a suit of armor. So we see that the mermaid looks very soft, very vulnerable, right? And the human here, or I'm assuming this person is a human, has their guard up, holding some kind of staff or weapon in this hand and wearing this suit of armor. There is an implication of longing here in the mermaid's face that is not echoed necessarily in the face of the human. Perhaps between them already had been a tryst at some point in the past. And because they're from 2 different worlds, it just couldn't work out. We do have the divine light of Source enveloping both of their heads, showing that perhaps under different circumstances, they could be in a union. They could be together as one. The Six of Cups is about things returning from the past, Sagittarius. Now, it can be lost love, as we see on this card. But it can also be other things. Old friends contacting you out of the blue. Maybe even an old employer who is currently short-staffed and would very much like for you to return because you were such a great employee. All of these things are possible. And there are any number of reasons why you may or may not, Sagittarius, have your guard up against these things, even though they come across as quite friendly and quite soft. So I want for you to think back, Sagittarius, to a time in your past, and it would have been something that is continuing into the present. Perhaps you returned to an old job. Perhaps you started up again a friendship or a relationship with someone whom you've known for a long time. Think about this situation in your life and how it might apply to you, Sagittarius. The next card that we have here is in the reverse and would also be part of the past energy. And what we have here is the Three of Wands. This small fairy is peeking out between these wands to the horizon. We see some big, fluffy clouds overhead. They're very bright, so probably not storm clouds. We do see some mountains also in the background. Perhaps this small creature is waiting for the return of something or someone. So we do see two cards here in your past, Sagittarius, talking about something returning. The Three of Wands is about how energies that you have put out into the world are now returning to you. And we see the fruition of this energy with this Six of Wands, which did come out in Leo's reading. And then, of course, something having returned from the past with the Six of Chalices. This could have been a joint venture between you and another person. So it could have been a creative project. It could have been a band. It could have been an artistic collaboration. It could have even been a relationship. And the energies that you had put into that project did return to you in the past. And perhaps were part of this situation. In the current situation for you, Sagittarius, we have the Ten of Cups, and this card is showing up in the reverse. So here we see this figure. They could be rising out of the water. It looks like water back here. We see this circle of divine intervention also around this figure. That perhaps, as this is the Chalice's suit, there are a lot of mermaids in this suit. Perhaps one of these mermaids has been transformed into an angel. We have here a happy couple in the foreground. Well, we have two people getting married. It's very difficult to read their expressions. Are they content? Are they very sad? Are they simply existing together in the moment? Is their union being blessed by the divine here? Or was the mermaid interested in one of them at one time and has now been rebuked by one or both? We have new life springing up in the corner of this card. So where we have the end of one emotional cycle, Sagittarius, we see the beginning of a new one based on what we have learned the previous time around. Now this card is in the reverse in the current situation. And it could be about whatever this was that returned. That perhaps it just wasn't meant to be. Or it could be that the situation has transformed both of you to the extent that now you are preparing to move on to the next phase of your own developments. And this could be a romantic situation, certainly. And we do look at romantic situations a lot with the Suit of Cups because it is about our emotions. But you can have emotional feelings about possessions, about places of employment, all kinds of things. This can even, in a career reading, represent being able to emotionally separate yourself from your work. And especially where we're dealing with creative endeavors, any criticism of what one has put forth can potentially be taken very personally. Creative output can almost feel like a child. So that is another potential reading of the current energies for you, Sagittarius. Doesn't necessarily have to be tied to romance. Here in the future, I am going to deal with these cards together because they're both swords, and we have the very clear beginning and an end to a cycle. And additionally, both of these cards are showing up in the reverse. So again, what I had said about self-development here, that in the future, you might be taking, Sagittarius, very real and concrete steps in your own life towards your transformation. And the Ace of Swords doesn't really matter if it shows up in the reverse or in the upright. It showing up in the reverse in the future shows me that you might not be taking these steps yet, or you might not perceive yet the need to take these steps, but that it will be coming in for you soon. We have 6 stars around this sword. So the 6 of swords also can have motifs of change and transformation and movement. And that card did come up in the Aries reading for those of you who also have Aries in your chart. The Ace of Spades in a playing card deck is very much aligned with the ideas of death. So the Death card, the Tower card, we think of those as being transformational. The Ace of Swords is like that too. But from the standpoint of one having control over one's destiny. And the other card that we have showing up for you in the future, Sagittarius, is the 10 of Swords reversed. So here we see a complete cycle for you in the future playing out. That we have this sword here, echoed by this sword here, the beginning, the end, and then beginning again. The 10 of Swords, if you notice on a lot of these cards, the figures have this circle around them, like this, showing the divine source imbuing their mortal coils with life. And here on this card, we see that that light has gone out. But we do see this star way off in the distance. Perhaps the pinpoint as that light is retreating back to source. This is a very harsh card in the tarot. There's no mistaking the symbolism. it can be very painful. But that's not necessarily the case. Sometimes things need to end. And when that is so, sometimes the Ten of Swords comes as a relief. So Sagittarius, we're looking a lot at cycles. We're looking a lot at renewal. We're looking at things that have gone and have now returned. So a lot of shifting energies in your reading this week. And as I mentioned, because a lot of the cards are reversed, that there might be a certain amount of chaos or confusion surrounding these events. Oh, thank you, Kayla's lovely. I appreciate that. I'm glad that you enjoyed it. Now, Sagittarius, you are a mutable fire sign, and thus are designed by your nature to cope with such volatility. So here, because we have these chalices in your reading, let's envision this transformation like a bubbling and boiling potion, simmering away in a great cauldron. And as bubbles rise up to the surface and they pop, they generate great manifestation in your life. So think about all of the ingredients that you have put into this cauldron. Things like your energy, love, and support that you've given to friends and family. Hard work and perseverance is another ingredient to go into your cauldron. Think about the emotions that you have poured into this potion as well, both good and bad. Even the actions, good and bad, which have gone into this manifestation. And now we see the dark liquid. Well, for some of you it might be dark, some of you it might be light, some of you it might be quite clear, there's quite murky. What does your potion look like? Is it potable? Is it made of ingredients that you could eat or drink? Or is it quite toxic? Slowly, you can see the first tiny little bubbles simmering to the surface. Gradually, we get bigger and bigger bubbles coming to the surface and popping. Before long, the potion has reached a rolling boil. And now, as bubbles rise up to the surface of the liquid and pop, your manifestations spring forth. So the first bubble that pops, what is it that's going to come out? Is it a new living situation? Is it maybe a car? Or a new job? Something brand new. Not rooted in your history, but something with fresh energy. The second bubble that comes up to the surface and pops. What do you see there, Sagittarius? You might even have bubbles that come up to the surface and pop. And it's not even something that you necessarily thought that you wanted. But you realize how much you actually needed it. And you have to trust that all of these things are coming to you by merit of the energies which you have put forth. And as all these things manifest in your life, they begin a brand new cycle for you, Sagittarius. And gently, you allow your potion to cool so that it may be stored in bottles and perhaps even shared among your friends and loved ones. That is going to conclude the Sagittarius reading for this week. So now I'm going to go over to the members side of the channel and do some crystal scrying with this beautiful piece of unigite. I want to thank each and every one of you who have come here today. Whether you are here in the live, I always love talking to you guys when you come to the live chat. Or whether you are watching the replay of this video later. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I look forward to seeing you again. Oh, thank you, Eve. Our beautiful moderator, Eve, stopping by to say hello. Thank you. I will see all of you again